Just too old to eat pizza. It's terrible.
Okay, Mayor, we are ready to start.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thank you to the public for your patience as we were reconvening after our closed session. So Happy New Year to everyone, and thank you for being here. I'm going to turn it over to our city attorney. Is there anything to report out from our closed session?
No, there's nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're going to move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Morales, will you lead us?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to public input. So this is a time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item that's not on the agenda, but within the subject matter jurisdiction of this council. Speaker cards are available in the lobby. If you are zooming in from Zoom, then just click on the hand raise icon on the bottom. If you're on the phone, then press the asterisk and the 9. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes per subject. Please note that the state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on any item that is not on the agenda. Do we have any public comments?
Yes, Mayor. First speaker is Carol Lenore.
Okay.
Of the new year. Good evening, Mayor
Welcome.
and City Council. I wanted to come and just talk to you a little bit about my situation, trying to secure a building permit for the rebuild on the house fire that I had back in the end of March. Well, we submitted building plans, my contractor, and I have all kinds of people working on it. November 19th, and it was accepted, and they took it in, and then they made their comment. You wait 3 weeks, and then they make their comments, and you got to resubmit it, and then you got to wait another 2 weeks. So right now I'm going to enter into the third 2 weeks. So it was November 19th, and now they're going to not talk to me until January 19th. When you call over there to ask a question, you have to leave a number because they will not answer not even one question on anything unless they get a text or an email. What happened to customer service? I tell you, I would love to go in there and school me some employees. That is not what you do. And if they don't want to help people, I suggest you get some leadership in there that wants to help people. You're going to lose commercial contractors now. I hope you're all aware of what's going on, and I'm sure it's going to be coming forward. It's been snowballing for over 2 years, but now it's sucked me in. So I knew it was going on, and I should have stood up then to do the decent thing for people. But I said, well, it's not my problem. It's my problem now. It's going on 2 months. I'm trying to move. So here's what I would say. The quicker you do that, the quicker I leave and I'm out of everybody's hair. But I'm going to turn it up the volume because I really need to get that permit. I can't be waiting 2 weeks between everything. And your building department is not serving the public. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Lenore. Appreciate your comment. Any other speakers?
Yes, the next speakers are Chang So and Cassandra Katarshoff, I believe.
Kardashev.
Hello, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Chang So. I am the board chair for the Community Foundation for San Benito County. As you know, we had a little bit of a CEO and executive director change, and I'm here to introduce Cassandra Kardashev.
Hi, it's so nice to meet you, and I apologize for my mouthful of a last name. I married into it. I am so excited to be your new CEO of the Community Foundation for San Benito County, and I look forward to working with you. There's a lot of different ways that the Community Foundation and the City Council can work together. Most commonly, people think about it during a disaster when there's a fire or flood or earthquake or a pandemic. Hopefully we don't experience one of those again, but the Community Foundation is your strategic partner with figuring out where to put assets into our community. both in the short term when people are experiencing the disaster and the long term. We are also your creative and partners in solving for big, sticky issues in the community. So we have this beautiful building all of a minute away from you at the epicenter where community members can come together to problem solve for those big issues in our county. And so I hope that you see the Community Foundation as a resource to you if you want to noodle or brainstorm different ways that we can problem solve together. Often the really big issues in our community can't be solved by government alone. It takes government, for-profit, and nonprofit working together to solve for those issues. If you're not familiar with the Community Foundation, we award millions of dollars in grants and scholarships every year to local nonprofits and to students as well. And I just want to say I look forward to working with all of you. And I will be leaving my cards up at the front, and I hope that you reach out. And I would love to have a conversation with each of you. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. Welcome. Congratulations.
Our next speaker is Peter Hernandez.
Mayor, City Council, I just wanted to add it to the record since the last time I was here. I didn't have enough time. There was too much to say, not enough time. 3 minutes is sometimes really tough, but just to add it to the record, right? I'm Peter Hernandez, a sitting planning commissioner, and just trying to bring some highlights to the record that I think is really important. Ultimately, I believe it was either the September, October meeting where there was a planning commission basically recommendation to consider 6 items for potential, ultimately to go before the council on potential amendments to address some of these issues that respectfully, like Ms. Lenore had mentioned.
Give me a minute. Can you stop the timer? Can we close the doors in the back or ask them to keep it down back there? Okay, apologize for that, Mr. Hernandez. Can we add a couple of seconds? Okay,
Okay.
okay, let's get the other door closed too. Okay, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. So the 6 recommendations we had made, we had asked, ultimately at that point, there was a motion, there was a second, there was a vote, unanimously approved, again, this to become a discussion item on the following meeting. And ultimately, not only on the following meeting was it not added to the agenda, but then secondly, the minutes didn't even reflect the conversation. And I was told by the planning director, Ms. Kelly, that they only record action items, which I know, I've also served in elected office. I know no commission or committee that I've ever been a part of that doesn't keep minutes of the conversations, ultimately that at least give you an understanding of what guides that final decision, whether it's in a policy amendment or what have you. But that's basically what happened. Very frustrating, obviously. And then obviously the December meeting, which we were supposed to have, where again, the recommendation was for these 6 items to be talked about and formalized into a potential recommendation to the city council. That didn't happen either because that meeting got canceled without any notification besides that it was canceled. There was no advice. There was nothing advisory about why they canceled it. They just told us they canceled it. And it makes to my final point that I believe that the planning commission doesn't have enough authority to ultimately address the issues besides, anything having to do with projects that the city ultimately brings forward to that planning commission. I think it just makes us either rubber stampers of the process or, but by default, it doesn't cause us to actually address any potential problems. We see issues, we see potential solutions, but ultimately that means we have to be a little bit more in the driver's seat. So I definitely recommend that there be an amendment that one of the amendments that I'm recommending to the bylaws of the Planning Commission, and that's to actually create a situation where a member becomes the chair that ultimately has oversight authority over the committee, over the agenda, and ultimately at that point, there's a little bit more discretion towards the commission's authority over the process. That's just one recommendation. I'm running out of time, but these are the things that we're passionately vetting and trying to address. We would just like your support. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Next speaker.
Those are all the speakers for this portion of the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to all the speakers. So we're going to move on to the next item. So we're going to consent items. Do any members of the council have any brief questions or comments on any of the items that are on the consent agenda? Go ahead, Ms. Morales, Councilmember Morales. Okay, so we're going to pull 8.9.
I just have a quick question on 8.12.
What's your question?
So my question is, it has to do with the audit, the point, number 6 in the notes, the City of Hollister single audit report. The auditors and the city went back and forth. There were some recommendations for us to improve the audits. It's taken a long time for us to get to this process, and it seems like we're fixing a lot of things from previous councils, and passing audits seems to be one of them. And my question is, are we going to, so by hiring additional personnel in finance, will we be able to have better oversight to fix some of the issues that we read about in the audit process?
Thank you, Councilmember, for the question. First, and thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Griselle from Finance and Delia from our Finance Department who are here tonight. And City Clerk Woodworth, can you check to see if Erica, she's on board? And I'll let her specifically talk about some of the findings, but I also want to say, and they've been helping us, to be this far behind in audits is very difficult to say out loud, but also it could harm us in terms of credit ratings. It could harm us in terms of grants and those types of things. So having acknowledged the Finance Department and their work, if we can let Erica, and you may want to summarize if you can, Councilmember, so Erica can again hear your specific.
So yeah, we're a little behind, and there were some findings by the auditors, and us as a city have, agreed that, there's some things that we have to fix. And my question is getting some, fresh leadership in there and getting some, some more, people to just a leader in there to help us like alleviate some of these issues. Do you think that could help us overcome some of these issues? Because there's just too many to bring up, that we've a few things to fix.
Definitely good. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Happy New Year, everyone. So yes, I realize that the audit is delayed, but again, that's just been a result of all the turnover within the city. And I definitely do think additional resources to help the finance department will benefit the city. In terms of an audit, there's just so much to do. There's so much information to pull together. Delia did an awesome job this year trying to accumulate information from years that, she was not at the city. And that takes a lot of work. So in order for her to do her normal day job, as an example, and then also go back, and do prior year's audits, it's a ton of work. So definitely additional resources would help benefit the city moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's okay. Any other questions or comments from the, okay. Okay, so I'm going to move to public comment. Do we have any speakers for this part of the agenda?
There are no speakers for any of the consent agenda items.
Okay, okay, so I'm bringing it back to the council. I just want to make one quick little comment on item 8.7. This is on on filling the appointments for the Business Commission and the Parks, Arts, Recreation, and Cultural Commission. So thank you to the two people that have stepped up, Mr. Hernandez and Mr. Rodriguez. Thank you so much for stepping up and putting in your applications. And I would just encourage anyone else who is interested in any of these positions to submit an application. Go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Thank you. So I see HJ sitting in the audience. I just wanted to remind you, if I could, sir, about the meetings that were taking place. If we can probably reach out to those business owners and encourage them, because I think that the idea of the business commission came from that. So if we can encourage the business owners to apply, then we can have a full quorum. And then City Clerk, my question about and I think I've asked this to you offline, as far as when we dissolved all the other commissions and we created the one commission with the arts, culture, parks and rec, I think it was, I had asked staff to reach out to the previous commissioners from all of those commissions to see if any of them were interested in applying. Have we done that? I don't know if I've ever circled back and spoke to you about that. And if not, could we potentially do that?
Yes, we did back when the other commissions were dissolved, and there was only one member of those commissions that wanted to continue to serve, and he does still continue to want to serve. We've just been waiting for a quorum
Got
for
it.
him to be able to serve.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so with that, can I get a motion on the consent items except for 8.9 that we'll hear right after?
Move to adopt.
I
Um,
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so those will pass. We'll now then listen to the pulled item, and that's a resolution approving a residential tax sharing agreement with the County of San Benito for LAFCO annexation request 2024549. Can we get a staff report? Thank you.
Good evening, Rod Powell, your Assistant City Manager. This is basically a housekeeping item related to annexation. The agreement before you was developed jointly by County Council and your city attorney. In 2019, there was an agreement developed that pertained to city-initiated annexations. It did not account for applicant-initiated annexations. And so this item is basically a housekeeping item to establish similar provisions on an application that is initiated by the property owner and not the jurisdiction. And I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Okay, thanks. Did you have any questions? Go ahead, council member.
Can you tell me, so number 3I, I'm just confused as to why this would be in a contract. City shall pay county an additional amount reasonably justified in the county's sole discretion, which may then be determined by fiscal impact analysis, and it goes on. But then number 2, the additional amount will apply to, right? And then number 3, you have language in here that just continues to say the city will pay the county. And again, not really saying, not giving parameters, just reasonably justified. And that is so vague.
Yeah, I'm going to defer to the city attorney since she did a joint formation of this agreement with the county council.
Yeah, and so this tax sharing agreement for this particular annexation was modeled on the master tax sharing agreement for residential annexations that the city and the county have already agreed to. And so the negotiations for the actual terms of the agreement were between the former city attorney and the county administrative officer. And they essentially just agreed that they would use the exact same terms as the master tax sharing agreement. And so that although it probably doesn't answer your specific question, is how the term ended up in this agreement. I mean, I can pull up the specific term that you referred to. It'll just take me a second.
So I'm just very first alarmed by the language and by the words. And I would recommend that we not sign this because I'd like the language to be cleaned up and make it clear. And also it doesn't, I mean, there isn't like a 50-50. It's the city. Basically, we are going to pay whatever the county feels that's somewhat justifiable. I've never seen contract language like that ever before. I would not recommend using it in this agreement, even if it was taken from a different template, that we clean up the language and then bring it back to council.
Would you tell me that section again?
It's page number 3, item 3, CI.
Oh, 3CI, okay.
And it continues, but just for time's sake.
Go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Thank you. And I know that you're busy looking for that. But I just want to get some clarity here. You said that this tax sharing agreement is exactly the same tax sharing agreement as the master one we have in place for the city and county now, correct?
For residential.
All right. Um, but I know and I understand that we don't have one for LAFCO, well, for applicants that apply through LAFCO. So we're essentially looking at this, we're going to agree to it, then what's next? We're going to send this individual contract to the county for consideration for tax sharing agreement?
Yes, the county will be bringing it before the Board of Supervisors at a future date.
And what's the
when it's
reason?
jointly signed, it will go into effect in LAFCO.
Okay, why don't we have an existing tax sharing agreement for all applicants through LAFCO from between the city and the county? And how can we get one? Because then we don't have to consider each one individually.
What we do have is we have agreements regarding commercial annexations
Sure.
and residential annexations. But our current residential annexation agreement is only relevant to those that the city initiates. There's two processes in which annexation can occur. One can be initiated by the property owner, or one can be initiated by the jurisdiction. We're missing the property owner one. I don't know whether that was anticipated when this was originally created in 2019. That's when your original residential master agreement was created. So this is essentially adding in a provision that allows a property owner to do it in this circumstance under the same provisions that already exist if the jurisdiction were going to do it.
Right. Okay. Again, this is one application. I'm not that hesitant. I'm sorry. I'm not hesitant to approve this application. What I'm more concerned about is to see what the county's feedback is, and how can we establish a long-term application process that's going to streamline applicants through LAFCO that has a tax sharing agreement between the city and the county as well. I'm not quite clear what specifically Councilmember Morales's points are in this language. If maybe she can clarify that. I don't know if maybe you understood that, City Attorney, like what specifically, what language specifically are we concerned about? And
It's what I read. Basically, it doesn't give a formula. It says that
okay,
the city
so
shall pay
too
the county
vague.
an additional amount reasonably justified in the county's sole
Got
discretion.
it, got it, got it, got it.
That in
got it,
itself
got
is a
it.
problem. It's
Okay.
not in our best interest. There isn't any, it's not even neutral language. Like
Okay.
there shouldn't be anything like this in an agreement that the city agreed to do, like period.
I understand. I understand. So as far as that goes, I do agree with Councilmember Morales. It's a little too vague and it puts a little too much quote unquote power, so to speak, in the county's hands. So that's something we should revisit at least in this tax sharing agreement. I think the other tax sharing agreement is a whole different story. But is that language in the original tax sharing agreement between the city and the county as well then?
Yes, this is essentially verbatim the other agreement.
Okay, and then Councilmember Morales, is there any other provision? You said how about
No,
I?
so throughout this document, there's similar language like that,
Got it.
which I think our attorney can go through and review. And I'm happy to kind of go through it and point things out as well. But I think it really, because I don't want to make assumptions, but when documents, especially contracts come through, it should be reviewed by our city attorney, not only for form, but legality. And words are extremely important. So I see in our documents, it's like form, but not legality. And I think it needs to absolutely be both. Like the language should really reflect so that it's not unclear that it's, I mean, they can come back and say, you owe us $1 million. And when we point to something, it's like, we don't have a leg to stand on.
I
There's
understand.
not one contract.
I understand,
But
and
there's a lot throughout the entire document that needs to be reviewed, and I'm happy to do it at another time, but I believe our city attorney can do that.
right. So what are our options, City Attorney, given her concerns? And I happen to agree with her on that, specifically on that one
Yeah.
vision.
So what I'll say is that the terms in these tax sharing agreements in general are based on the revenue and tax code. And so the revenue and tax code dictates how these agreements are formed. And so I can't speak to the exact language without going back and referencing those codes, but I can certainly provide the city council with a more detailed explanation as to why the language is what it is, and also identify if there's opportunities to change the language to better protect the city's interests.
Okay, those are my questions. I'm prepared to make a recommendation to withdraw or not to postpone, I would say, to a further meeting after we hear from the public and whatnot. Thank you.
Okay, so this was part of the consent calendar agenda. So should we do do we need to do public no, we don't need to do it separate. So is that an option for us to put this item off so that we can get some more clarification about that and get some other options around that? Around the
Yes.
concerns that were raised?
Yes, and the county hasn't, as I understand it, approved it yet.
Okay.
So, and so I can come back with more information. Would probably be the next best step. But then any changes to the agreement itself would require negotiation with either county council, or the original terms were negotiated between the former city manager and the CAO. So, you know, it would probably involve conversations with them as well. But yes,
Okay.
that can all happen.
Okay, so I'm gonna check back with Councilmember Morales. You good? Okay, okay. Michelle? You, okay, so I think we're gonna ask you to do that then, Jennifer. Okay, okay, thanks for that. Okay, we're gonna then wait on this item and hear it at a later date. Okay, so we're gonna move on to next item on our agenda. So we're down now to 9.1, a resolution approving a city manager employment agreement with Anna Cortez. May we have a staff report, please?
Good evening, Mayor Stevens and City Council. As you mentioned, this item is to approve a city manager contract with Anna Cortez. California state law does require that the material terms of any executive employment contract be disclosed in open session, so I'm going to describe the material terms of the contract. Those key terms are that the contract is for 4 years, beginning February 2nd, 2026. The city manager's annual base salary will be $265,000. In addition to that base salary, the city manager will be entitled to an additional retirement contribution of up to $2,200 annually. City manager will participate in the city's executive management unit salary and benefits program on the same terms and conditions as those other executive management employees, except that the city manager will be ineligible for a cost of living adjustment. That document, the executive management unit salary and benefits program, is available on the city's website, should anybody be interested in seeing the details. The city will also pay the city manager's dues to participate in professional associations and conferences. The contract that the city council is being asked to approve tonight is also a part of tonight's meeting agenda packet. So again, it's available for the public to view and read. There is one additional provision that we've added to the agreement since the agenda was published, and that is that the contract will only be effective contingent upon Ms. Cortez's live scan results. So she is required to be fingerprinted, and as long as those results of the fingerprinting come back with no negative results, then the contract will be effective. Are there any questions?
Okay, so we're gonna move on then to public comment. Do we have any speakers on this item?
Yes, we have one speaker, Mia Casey.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. As a former mayor and council member, I'm a little concerned about tonight's proposal to appoint a new city manager. It feels like things are a little rushed, especially with all the holidays and, beginning of the year. My comments tonight are not personal, but they are specifically related to this candidate, this proposed contract, and long-term risk for the city of Hollister. When you consider a city manager appointment, it's reasonable for the council and the public to look at a candidate's recent work history and outcomes in similar roles. When reviewing publicly available information, this candidate's most recent city manager positions were relatively short in duration, in some cases lasting just a few years, and more than one ended with negotiated separations that triggered severance payments. City manager turnover is expensive and it's disruptive. Beyond severance, there are recruitment costs, interim management costs, legal expenses, and significant learning curve. Hollister really needs stability at the top, and it's appropriate to ask whether this contract and comprehensive compensation structure sufficiently protect the city if that stability doesn't materialize. I'm also concerned that the proposed salary is on the high side. The candidate's most recently reported city manager salaries were in the $150,000 range. So making a proposed $265,000 salary is substantially increased over her prior compensation. In addition, there were publicly reported employee labor relation outcomes associated with the candidate's prior tenure, where employee terminations were challenged by a union, and ultimately it resulted in a reported cost to the city of approximately $500,000. And I'm not here to relitigate those events or assign anyone fault, but for a unionized city like ours, these outcomes are relevant when you're looking at risk and contract protections and also the likelihood of long-term success. Taken together with the candidate's tenure, the proposed salary level, the severance provisions, and the cost of executive turnover, I believe it would be prudent for the council to pause before approving this agreement as written. I would respectfully request the council to consider whether adjustments to compensation or to severance protections and the contract structure are warranted to better align with Hollister's size, resources, and its need for long-term leadership stability. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Casey. Other speakers on this item?
Those are all the speakers for this item.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. And then, so any questions or comments from the council? No. Okay, so it's my understanding that we have Ms. Cortez on Zoom. Do we have her on Zoom? Is she? I see her hand up.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's unmuted.
Hi. So I just want to introduce Anna Cortez and ask her if she wants to give a few comments. Are you there, Miss Cortez?
Yes, I am, and I definitely would like to make some comment. Well, Madam Mayor, council members, thank you so very much. Thank you for the confidence you have placed in me this evening. I am deeply honored by your consideration to become the next city manager for such a special community that has such strong identity, that is proud of its history, that has tremendous opportunities in front of it. I am excited at the opportunity to join this community at this moment and to serve a city that clearly cares about its future and about transparency, about how decisions are made, about who is part of this particular journey. I want to acknowledge the responsibility that comes with this role. The position of city manager is at its core about partnership with the council, partnership with the community, with directors, with unions. It is not a lonely journey. It's actually quite a crowded journey, and that's how it should be. I take that responsibility seriously. I want to recognize that I treasure the trust that this council is putting in me as it considers this particular contract.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Cortez. Well, congratulations and I appreciate those comments. And I want to, before I say any more, bring it back to the council for any other comments. Go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Thank you, Mayor Stevens. Anna, I just want to be the first to welcome you to the city of Hollister. I was very impressed. It was unanimous. Everybody here was super impressed by your interview, by your history, by your skills. Hollister is at a crossroads, and I know that with you sitting in the seat of the city manager and with this council, that we are going to be headed towards the future in a bright way. Welcome to the city of Hollister, and I can't wait to see you sitting here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments? Side.
I do.
Oh, go ahead, Councilmember Pache, go ahead.
And I also wanted to welcome you to the city of Hollister. You know, we did a lot of this in closed session. We did a lot of work with interviewing quite a few candidates, worked with a whole, like a headhunting group, and we got some great candidates. Anna just did a great job, and I feel I've done some interviewing quite a bit in, you know, my personal life, in my work career, rather, my other career. And I feel like we're going to have really good accountability, really good transparency. We're going to work well together. And we have got a lot of things to mend from the past, and we've got a great future ahead of us. And this council is going to continue just to keep moving forward. And I think we've got a good candidate here with the city manager, and I think we're going to be able to do that. So welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Deanda, oh, Vice Mayor Deanda, go ahead.
Hello, Anna. I just want to say welcome and looking forward to working with you.
Thank you. Councilmember Morales, any comments?
Thank you.
Hi, Anna. This is Dolores. Just wanted to welcome you. And I think for our community, you know, I know that there's been a lot of information about Anna's history, and I can share this with you that the council did its due diligence in terms of doing the background and really understanding the core of those issues that are out there, and making sure that we have a candidate that is going to help our city with a lot of the areas that we need to uplift, but also that cares about our employees, because our employees are the heart of the city. Customer service is important, making sure that we clearly identify the issues that really need to be addressed. And Anna was our top choice in order for us to, as a city, as a community, to move forward. So welcome, Anna. The community is looking forward to working with you and hopefully getting a lot of the issues that are dear to their heart and their livelihood. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And then I'll just end with this final comment. So also welcome. I'm so excited to begin working with you, Anna. And I want to just speak briefly about how impressed we were with not only her ability to articulate solutions to the major concerns that we had, but in particular in the areas of planning and finance, which we know we have some questions about, we have some concerns about, and we want to find some good solutions that works for everyone, including our employees. And Anna, you were very impressive to all of us in those two areas in particular, but in general, your approach to interfacing with the community and with the public, your ideas about how to be more transparent, all of those we were very impressed with those ideas. So welcome, and we just can't wait for you to begin your journey here in Hollister and for others to get to know you as well.
Thank you
Okay,
so much, council members.
Thank you. So with that, let me bring it back to the council for a motion.
Mayor Stevens, I would like to adopt a resolution approving city manager employment agreement with future city manager of Hollister, California, Ana Cortez, and I'd like to request a roll call vote, please.
Okay. Can I get a second?
I second.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember Pache,
Aye.
Councilmember Resendez,
Aye.
Councilmember Morales, Vice Mayor Deanda,
Yes.
and Mayor Stevens.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Congratulations, Anna. We're looking forward to having you join us in early February. Congratulations. Yeah, and I think applause is good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It is
Thank
truly
you.
an
Have a
honor,
good night,
and I can't
Anna.
wait.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, so we're going to move on to our next item. So item 9.2, update on the general plan and housing element. Can we get a staff report?
Thank you. Good evening. I do have a few slides for you. Happy New Year to the council. Eva Kelly, I'm your planning manager with the Community Development Department. Tonight, I was asked to just bring forward a brief update on where we are at with our general plan update and the housing element update. And so I have some dates and our proposed timelines that we are on schedule for. So as it relates to the general plan, this project also includes our climate action plan and the addendum to the EIR. So this is collectively the general plan update process and project. It's okay. It's all good. So where we are at with this project review is that we're currently finalizing the review of the administrative and screen check drafts of those documents. I have received final screen check drafts of the general plan and climate action plan that I should have back to our consultants this week. And we are anticipating releasing those documents by the end of next week, 1/16. The EIR addendum will be published with the Planning Commission agenda, as it's not a full EIR or a supplemental EIR, so it doesn't have the kind of 45-day or 30-day public noticing requirements. And so that document is still in its final drafting stages. We are going to, on that same day that we release the documents, submit to the Board of Forestry, the CAL FIRE. These are new requirements that came into place in March of last year. So as the council recalls, we have to include an evacuation study, and we had to make some updates to our health and safety element. And then we have this 90-day Board of Forestry review that we did not have before. So that's the reason for the schedule that follows. Once we have that document ready to be sent to them, they have a 90-day review, which puts us at April 14th, receiving comments back at the latest. But not knowing their process, I would anticipate that we're planning for comments at that 90-day mark. There are 2 Board of Forestry meetings that we might hit. It's possible, and our consultant team is talking with the Board of Forestry about trying to get on that March agenda for March 10th to 11th, which may or may not, I don't know their process, accelerate those April 14th comments, but it's more likely that we will hit the April Board of Forestry meeting and then get our comments on the 14th. And I think I have the April meeting date wrong. I think it's also around the 10th or 11th. I have the 23rd here, but there's an April monthly meeting. So with that schedule, we are waiting for Board of Forestry comments, and the plan is to bring forward for adoption the General Plan and Climate Action Plan along with the EIR addendum to the March 26th regular Planning Commission meeting, and then the April 20th, 26th City Council meeting. And it is a general plan, and it just requires one hearing at council. Next slide. The housing element is our other project, and these are all tied together due to environmental and rezoning and all of these things that are tied together. The housing element, we did submit the 3rd draft after a 7-day public review period to the Housing and Community Development Department of the state on December 16th before the holiday. So we've initiated their 60-day review period. We are expecting comments back at the end of that period on February 14th of this year. We have requested a mid-review meeting with HCD. As of right now, we haven't received a response, but with everyone back from the holidays, we do anticipate to follow up on that. Mid-review meeting scheduling would likely take place next week or maybe in 2 weeks from now. We do believe we've addressed the comments and are hoping for no comments, but we aren't sure if the HCD will have any comments. Regardless, the plan is to also hit those same meetings with the housing element. So March 26th Planning Commission adoption hearing and April 20th City Council adoption hearing. The final kind of aspect of the housing element is rezoning, which is required to be adopted by the City Council. So amendments to our zoning ordinance and zoning map to actually implement new densities, new programs in order for HCD to certify the housing element. As mentioned, our goal is to have addressed fully the comments from HCD. We believe we have, and we will have no further comments and changes that are needed on February following this current review. And so following the same schedule, we are working on those rezones and zoning amendments using the sites as we have drafted and the policies as we have drafted. Same meetings, March Planning Commission, April 20th, Council first reading. This is an ordinance, so it would come for a second reading and adoption at the following May 4th, second reading and adoption, and we'd submit immediately back to the state for another 60-day review period. It is noted that if HCD gives us comments where we need to make changes to any of the candidate sites or any of the rezoning strategies still, we may have to push out rezoning based on the comments we get in February. So we'll know a bit more where we're at with drafting correct ordinances to address these comments once we have comments on the third draft. But the plan is all 3 items, big meeting March, big meeting April 20th to bring these forward to you. That's my status update. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, Ms. Kelly. Questions? Councilmember Resendez, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Hughes. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I mean, I just need yes or no. We're going to move quickly. I took some notes. I just think it's important to give some context and some history. So first GP, general plan, was ready before the former Mayor Mia Casey took office. We were ready to adopt that general plan.
No. There was a draft that we got comments from the council on September 11th of 2023. So there was a public review draft that was submitted, but we didn't receive a
Here's my thing, right? Here's my question. Mayor Mia Casey took office. New council was here. She could have adopted that back in 2022? I forget.
The first draft that was available was in April of 2023.
Okay.
And then the Planning Commission made recommendations for changes.
Right.
And the
Carol Lenore, who is Mia Casey's planning commissioner, made recommendations to expand the city's sphere of influence. That came back to the council when Mia Casey was here, and they decided to expand the city's sphere of influence. Correct?
Correct.
Charge the tax-paying citizens to do that expansion, correct?
The city paid for it.
The city paid for it. When that did not have to occur. It could have been adopted as is, and if they wanted to, they could have changed the sphere if they wanted to right then and there, and they could have charged the developers to do it too, right?
Sure.
Right, that didn't happen. So at the very last meeting, even though the public didn't want this, at the very last meeting that council sat on, they adopted that general plan with that new city sphere of influence that they charged the tax-paying citizens to do, which was 3,000 acres of farmland on the west side of Hollister, correct?
There was 5 areas of expansion.
Okay, yeah, there was 5, primarily on the west side in ag land, but you're correct, there was 5, I remember that. Having done that as their last action here on the dais, the citizens went and collected signatures for a referendum, right?
Correct.
Then this council listened to those citizens. This council accepted that referendum. And now, because of all of these delays, I would say, when it was drafted and it could have been approved in 2023, here we are in January 2026, because of all of these delays for developers, I believe, to favor development, I believe, we still don't have a general plan that's in compliance. This council is listening to the public. This council, in my opinion, is on track to get this back, you just said, in April of this year, correct?
The plan is April, yeah. And
Okay.
we are, as of right now today, on track for April 20th.
Okay, this is something I'm really passionate about, Ms. Kelly. You know that. The public knows that, right? This is something that drives me insane, and I've been very vocal about that. Okay. I guess I just wanted to point that out just to give some context, because there is misinformation out there. There is misinformation that's out there. So we have to be very clear about what happened here. And the people that have worked, that are sitting in the audience in here tonight, that collected those signatures, they know, the public that voted out Mia Casey, they know What I would like to also stress to you is how important this is to the public, to the people that we represent, how important it is to this council, and that if there's any holdups at all, we can make amendments later, Ms. Kelly, right?
Yes, the general plan is a policy document that the council can choose to amend at any time.
So we can get this general plan adopted in April. We can get the housing element adopted in April, and we can always make amendments later if need be. Okay, on this new general plan, new slash number one general plan that we're at, we're not expanding into the agricultural land. All of the rezoning for the housing to meet the numbers of the housing element is within the city limits, correct?
Correct. The housing element requires candidate sites to be within the city limits.
Do we have to build those houses or?
The city
Thank
does
you.
not build houses.
Is there affordable housing included within that?
Yes, the housing element is a document that helps us plan for the various categories of housing at all affordability levels.
Thank you for answering my questions. Much appreciated, Ms. Kelly.
Okay, thank you for that. Questions, council members? Questions on this side or comments on this side? Councilmember Morales, go ahead.
You don't have to, not an interrogation, but if there's anything that is not accurate, then please correct me. So my understanding is the general plan originally did not go out to the community. And so there was amendments to include more community input, and there was various town hall meetings, more direct communication with a diverse audience, including Zoom. So that brought in a different perspective for the general plan. As a result of the general plan not being completed, are there elements where the city is now in builder's remedy or looking at potential issues with the state as a result of that? And projects that are still on hold for a couple of years that are not, people are just in limbo.
So the first question I heard was whether it went out for more public comment. The 2023 draft that was released in April followed a series of about 20 public meetings with our GPAC and Planning Commission. The contract that was adopted in November of 2023 to revise, we did not have, at the direction of the council, further public meetings besides the Planning Commission and council meetings that I went to. Same with this draft that we're currently doing. There was no budgeting for additional public workshops. It was policy direction from the councils both times. And we're just making those amendments as directed by the council. The second comment was regarding builder's remedy. The city of Hollister has been out of compliance with our housing element since January of 2024. Current cycle or fifth cycle ended in December of 2023. And so we are subject to the builder's remedy. We have had one project submitted that's currently under review for builder's remedy project. Otherwise, we have not. Builder's remedy requires at least a 20% affordability percentage for most projects. And we've not received submittals that meet those requirements. And then what was the third, please?
Projects that have been in limbo because we have not finished our general plan or housing element.
There haven't really been projects, but there have been annexation requests that have been in limbo because of the general plan, because annexations do affect the general plan and its underlying environmental documents.
And I just want to clarify on the additional input. I do remember us adding a couple of $1,000, maybe it was 20, maybe it was $30,000 for town hall meetings that I know I participated in. So we did an amendment to do a town hall meetings, and we also did some on Zoom.
I would review the contract, but I defer to, I don't recall.
Okay. So I just wanted to add additional information as a added perspective to what was already shared, and thank you for the update.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Morales. Do you have any comments? Okay, any other? Okay, one quick comment. Okay.
Thank you. I just want to be very clear about what was just set up here. Councilmember Morales said that the reason it was put back out there to expand the city's sphere of influence, to build houses over farmland, and when they use tax-paying citizens' dollars to do that revision when it could have been approved, was for more public input. However, from what I heard you say is that the public input had already been done. Over 20 meetings had been done with public input. And when this council, not this council, but when her council and Mia Casey and Carol Lenore, Planning Commissioner Carol Lenore, changed that, it was because the Planning Commission, led by Carol Lenore, extended the sphere of influence, the city council gave direction, and then they used taxpaying citizens, but there was no public input. And if there was, I don't think that there was any representation of Latino speaking residents, because I remember specifically asking for a lot of these meetings, how many people were there that were Spanish speaking residents, and there was none. There was none. And that's who led the referendum. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, I'm going to go to public comments. Do we have any speaker cards on this item?
Yes, Mayor Stevens, our first speaker
Okay.
is Fallon Gregg, to be followed by Daniel Alvarez.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council
Good evening.
members. My name is Fallon Gregg. I'm a longtime local resident who voted for Measure A, which was a slow growth measure in San Benito County, which includes Hollister. It's been a long time since the election, and it's been a long time since the referendum that stopped the annexation of the 3,000 acres. And I'm still waiting to see the new housing element and general plan for Hollister. It now looks like it's going to be delayed until March. I don't understand why it's taking so long to amend to the previous housing element and general plan. It's not like the plan had to be rewritten from scratch. I think it just needed amendments and tweaks to bring it up to date. All the delays of the housing element and the general plan put the city's growth in jeopardy. Continued delays open the door for developers to apply for builder's remedy, and this would negate then the slow growth favored by overwhelming majority of voters who voted for Measure A. I strongly urge the city's planning department to step up to the mark, complete the Hollister's housing and element and general plan ASAP or sooner, and enough with the delays. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gregg. Next speaker?
Our next speaker is Daniel Alvarez, to be followed by Maureen Nelson.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Alvarez. I'm a field rep with the NorCal Carpenters Union. I just want to talk about something that affects every carpenter on the field. Is healthcare. For many of us, we're just an injury away from being in the hospital, death, or even bankruptcy. Our work is tough and physical. We lift heavy materials, use power tools, and work in heights. Even when we follow all the safety procedures.
Can I just ask you to pause for a minute? Can we stop the timer? I'm not sure that this is part of this item that the issue
Yeah,
that you're bringing up. Is this related
housing
to the
element, yeah.
general plan and the housing element?
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead. I apologize. I just wanted to make sure because it didn't sound like it. I apologize for the interruption. Go
Getting
ahead.
there. No problem. Without good healthcare, one trip to a hospital could wipe out our family savings. It could mean choosing between paying our bills or paying the rent. No one who works hard every day should face these choices. As a union carpenter, we stand together to protect these benefits. We make sure that our members have coverage. They can count on us. It gives us the peace of mind and let us focus on doing our job the best I can. Responsible contractor understand this too. They know that when workers are healthy and protected, they work better. Good contractors invest in people with fair wages, healthcare, and apprenticeship that build skills for the next generations. No worker should lose everything because they got hurt building something for our community. I look forward to look about this issue with you guys. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Alvarez. Next speaker?
Our next speaker is Maureen Nelson, to be followed by Annette Perez.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, city council members. It's been some time. It's a pleasure to see you. Happy New Year. I am just absolutely baffled. Measure A passed remarkably, soundly for the vote of the people. We want to have controlled build out. We don't want rampant growth that doesn't serve our purpose as a community, as a city, as a county. I heard many different things. There's the requirement to update the general plan. The delay blows open the door for a potential abuse. Abuse, no kidding. Builders remedy? That blew open the door to take advantage. We're the suckers. We're all being taken advantage of. Didn't need to happen. The delay, whether intentional or not, it feels like an undercurrent to delay the implementation of Measure A that was soundly voted in by the people that you represent when addressing building projects. Now we're looking at future delays to April 14th, April 20th, the city council adoption, May 4th, review, apply for another 60-day state review. We're now into July. Are we kidding? This should have happened years ago. All we've done is open the doors, clean the windows to make sure that everybody can see inside, and we put flashing lights on our buildings to say, come, apply, build out. We can't stop you. We voted to stop you. We voted to be reasonable. We voted to be aware of what we're doing within our city, within our county, and we just obliterated it. We just ignored the voice of the people. This is who put you here, the people. God didn't put you here. The fairy godmother didn't put you here. The people put you in your seats. Please, please respect the vote of the people. This is a disgrace. I'm so disappointed. I hope that we really think about this and we really put the reins in because the people did vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Next speaker.
The next speaker is Annette Perez, to be followed by Joe Giacalone.
Hello, everybody. My name is Annette Perez, Hollister resident. Happy New Year to the mayor and council members. Thank you so much for your leadership. I really appreciate it. And I'm just really here to encourage the Hollister Planning Department to get this housing element and planning document done. We've been waiting a long time. As you stated before, we worked really hard. When we saw at a December meeting back in 2023, where a huge amount of our ag land was going to be taken into a sphere of influence. We didn't want that to happen. We worked really hard to get that changed, and we appreciate you agreeing with the people of Hollister that we didn't want that to happen as a sphere of influence to our ag land. But now we just need to stop and not let Hollister be vulnerable to builders' remedies. So I just really want to encourage you all. Let's get this done. Let's work together. Let's make this happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Perez. Are there other speakers?
Yes, ma'am. The next speaker is Joe Giacalone, to be followed by Mary Shaw Corin.
Hello, council members. I'm Joe Giacalone. I'm the managing partner for the Hollister Research Campus. Excuse me. 5 years ago, the city of Hollister cashed our check for $40,000+ for our application to annex into the city. So I've been through, I don't know, 4 or 5 mayors. I don't know how many staff people, council people. Last October, we met with Rod Powell, who was standing in because Mr. Marioni had left. In the meeting, I made it clear to him that our project was on the bubble, that the owner and major developer of the project was ready to pull the project because he doesn't need to deal with all these delays. We've been on the bubble now for 5 years. So at that meeting, excuse me, Rod made a comment that in January, by hook or by crook, they were going to present the revised general plan to the city council, not ask for another delay and all this. So my request is, since our project has nothing to do with residential, number one. Number two, it's commercial, light industrial, and commercial serving tourism, that we be separated from another delay and allow our project to complete the application, not get it approved, but the council, and I don't remember how many meetings ago, the council directed staff to stop, and Eva, correct me on this, there's 6 or 7 commercial industrial projects that are on hold, something like that, right? So there's like 7 projects that have nothing to do with residential that have been put on hold again, and we can't complete our applications. We've spent close to $2 million on this project in 5 years, and I don't feel we're any farther than we were 5 years ago. If you guys keep delaying it, our project's going to die. We don't need, the owner of this project doesn't need to do this project. I mean, he's had it. He's got a piece of feral land that he can't farm. And unless we get some type of cooperation out of the city, our project's going to disappear. And I've met with Rudy, Mayor, I've met with you. I've reached out to every council member here to do a study session. And to date, the only ones that I've met with are the mayor, Rudy, and that's it. And I don't know what else to do, but I'm making it clear now that I've got a check in my truck for $23,000 that I was supposed to hand to Eva tonight to do the trigger analysis for our project. And I'm not going to explain the trigger analysis and all that, but I'm not going to hand her that check tonight because I have to report back to the owner and tell him nothing happened.
Thank you, Mr. Giacone.
Our next speaker is Mary Shaw-Corin. You can go ahead and unmute and speak.
Mute. Hi, thank you, and Happy New Year to the City Council, and congratulations to our new city manager. I wanted to just, I know it's a little bit repetitive, encourage the city planning department to really make the completion of the housing element and the general plan a real priority. As you can see, there's a lot of frustration. And I actually noted, I was doing a little research and I noticed that not having the general plan completed is actually very problematic financially. It can create a financial burden for the city of Hollister because the state legislature has passed a few bills, SB 1037 and AB 712, so that as of January of this year, 2026, there are much more severe penalties now. I won't go into all the detail. I'll just list it very high priority. I mean, in list of order, there could be monthly civil fines, penalties between $10,000 to $50,000 per month for each violation of the housing element law, and escalating fines. It can go up to $600,000 per month. I just am concerned that there's been delays, and I'm not sure if the planning department maybe needs more support, but I think it could be extremely costly to not get the job done, to complete the housing element and the general plan. I just think it's a really, really important priority. And so I hope that they get the resources to get the job done before any penalties get imposed. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw-Corin.
Those are all the speakers for this item.
Okay, thank you for all the public that commented. Any other questions or comments from the council? Go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Thank you. Again, I wanted to provide some history, some context. It was the old mayor and the old council that held us up. Yes. Initially, right? Now it comes on us. It falls on us. People are not happy. It's not just the general plan. It's not just the housing element. I've heard nothing but complaints about permits, about codes, about I don't know what's going on there. But this has to be prioritized. The people elected us to clean up the mess. This was alluded to by Councilmember Pache, to clean up the mess by the last council. I think it's been like a year. It's been a year, and this was the first thing that we tackled. It needs to get done. It needs to get done. Mia's gone. Now it's going to fall on us. Let's get to work on it.
Okay, thank you. Any comments?
Well, I'm learning pretty fast that the wheels of government do move very slowly, but we have literally been working on numerous things in addition to the general plan. And I know that you're kind of a little bit on the, I don't know if the hot lectern there, sort of, I don't know what to call it exactly. But, getting a fire contract, there was a lot of anxiety all over the place of the county residents with what happened down in Southern California. People were concerned about their insurance evaporating and insurance companies walking away. There have been so many things that have happened in the last year. This is one of many things. Very important, right? Getting audits completed and catching up on those is something that staff has been doing a lot of work on. Haven't passed one of those in a while. Got to get those passed in order to up our credit rating. The general plan is very important. And I know it seems like it's taking a really long time, and it has. It's taken a while. It's complicated document. It's a living document, and it changes over time. The last council had it just about wrapped up. We were all here for that. The 2023 plan was getting close to completion. There were a few CEQA things and some environmental work and some site visits to do. It was just about done. We had to literally go back to a 2005 plan, remove the 3,000 acres, go back to the 2023 plan. I think staff has done a Herculean job. We were about to annex hundreds of acres in Buena Vista, north of Buena Vista, west and south of Union Road, to the east of Fairview. 3,000 acres totaling, on this new general plan. So we had to go back to the old plan, the one that you guys are all referencing. Had to go back to the 2005, work on the 2023 plan. It's been a ton of work. I just want to commend city staff for all the work that you have been doing, finding sites that will satisfy our housing element within the confines of the size of the city as it is right now. Thank you for doing what you're doing. I know there's some anxiety here about the general plan. I am really excited. April seems very soon. It's actually sooner than I thought. I was expecting this to be coming in summer. So right before my birthday, it sounds like a great gift. So thank you for doing what you're doing. Keep up the good work. Let's move forward with some positivity because we're getting some work done. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, and I won't belabor the issue, but clearly, Ms. Kelly, I mean, I'm sure you get the sentiment, and we all get the sense that there's some urgency around getting this done. Appreciate all the hard work that you've done on this so far. Keep it going. Push it through as quickly as you can. If you need any extra support or anything else, please reach out to Jim for now, Anna when she comes in, but as quickly as possible. We cannot afford any more delays on this. We really need to continue to move this thing forward. So thank you for your hard work on this and all of your staff on this on the work that you've done on this, and just keep pushing through. We really have to get this done. We cannot afford any other delays on this. So hopefully we can meet the timelines, but if there's any way to move them up, if there's any way, any room to move them up.
State reviews or
Yeah. Yeah. So anything that, any like creative ideas that you or staff has to push those up, please do that. We just want to emphasize the importance of pushing this forward and just continuing to work hard on getting this done as soon as possible. Okay, so thank you for that. And then I just want to check, is there any other discussion, anything else? Do we need to do anything for closing this? Okay. All right, well, thank you for the
Thank you.
information. Appreciate you putting up with us. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, we're going to move on to the next item. So 9.3, a resolution directing city staff to bring back options, including policy and possible ordinance that can address commercial buildings that are vacant. Can we get a staff report, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of council. Back on June 2nd, 2025, Councilmember Morales requested a future agenda item on this subject, which talked about having an ordinance or policies addressing vacant commercial buildings. It's not that we've done nothing since that time, but we looked at our nuisance ordinance and we provided some information that you have all have seen as one of the ways to look at it, but we wanted to do this the right way and bring it back with possibilities for addressing issue, but and I'll be quiet here in a moment to hear from you on what those look like. Does it look like a new ordinance? Does it look like policies? So we need to hear from you on that. But a lot of this has to do with when a commercial business leaves or vacates a building, you have health issues, safety issues, you have a vacant building, you have blight, you have all these things. Other Bay Area cities have handled it by making buildings register, for example, or to pay an annual fee on buildings, because I told Councilman Morales that I would provide some of those just brief general examples before you guys think about this, talk about it, give city attorney and myself some direction on what possibly could come back. And that's, so we're not solving the problem now, but we are putting on you what you think can look like. I know the most, the vacant building in our community happens to be a Halloween site every year, the last few years. And so that's one site. But we want to be responsive to Councilmember Morales and all of you. And so with that, we want to listen.
So.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Go ahead, Councilmember Morales. I'm sorry.
Apologize.
Go ahead.
So many of our residents know, anybody that moves here, they're like, why is Kmart always empty? And so, and that's true of a couple of different areas within our community. There's a lot of folks that are like, can we do a bowling alley there? Can we do something for the kids, for the teenagers? Can we do something for families? And so in other cities, they have commercial buildings register and pay fines or fees when it's not occupied. And so they disincentivize owners from leaving it empty. So some owners actually benefit if it's empty. They get tax write-offs. It may not be a benefit to them to have them occupied. We know that having the Halloween store, it was a hassle. I'm sure some of you got calls, but they're like, we couldn't get it open in time. We couldn't get it to the, to the maximum number of folks that we could. So there's a lot of challenges. I'm looking for something so that we can incentivize owners to actually open it up to anybody, right? So that our community can actually benefit from having those places occupied versus it being empty intentionally and not being utilized. We have so many different needs in our community. We're a small community, but there isn't a lot of things for our children, our residents to do. And so I'm looking for ways that the city can be creative and look for a way that we can create, whether it be a policy or an ordinance or anything else, to incentivize owners to occupy it, even if it's for like resource fairs or, special events or, anything really. But instead of it being an incentive to leave it empty, let's look at a way to incentivize them to have it be filled with something that the community benefits. So that's my ask of this council for that consideration.
Okay, thank you for that. Comment, question. So, go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Thank you, Mayor Stevens. Thank you, Councilmember Morales, for that explanation. Here's my one question to start off with. Which department is going to be heading the workload on creating this policy?
The legal department.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I can certainly, the city attorney's office can certainly draft the policy, but with respect to implementing the policy, that's gonna have to be a city department.
Which one would that be?
That is up to
Code?
the city manager.
Planning?
It would most likely be code because we would need them out and about and noticing any code violations. This would be one of those, yes?
Okay, here's my thing, Councilor Morales. I'm all about incentivizing businesses. It seems a little punitive to me. And I know there's been challenges in the past, like with the ordinance that happened in Watsonville's Kmart. So I'd like to look into that. My ask, number one, is if it's going to involve any if it's going to involve any work time that's going to cost us extra cost from taxpaying citizens, everything costs us cost, right? Too much extra cost. And number two, that it's going to take time away from the planning department on focusing on the last item we just talked about. That's what I'm concerned about. Number three, we have an MOU with HDA. They happen to be here. Sorry to put you on the spot. They happen to be here. What does the language in the MOU say about partnering with our stakeholders in the community? And what are they doing? Are they already working on something? Like, I think that we should explore other options that are not so punitive, because I don't want to come off as anti-business. I think that we want to, it's a really gray area, Councilmember Morales. I don't disagree with you. I'm not saying that I won't go that route, right? But I just think that we need to explore all the options. And I'm leery of, number one, punishing or decentivizing business when the intent is to incentivize more business, right? So I want to look at models that work. And then second, I'm leery of taking away from staff time because we have such little resources and we're working on other things. And number three, what do our current MOUs with our community stakeholders say? And can we leverage those to explore the options that you're talking about? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, if I may, Mayor, may I respond? So I don't disagree that resources should be, our general plan and housing elements must be prioritized. That's a must, not a should. It's a must. I'm looking at, can we bring it back with research? The city of San Francisco is doing a great job. It's economic development. It's not decentivizing. It's saying if you had property, Roland, and you have greater benefits from leaving it open than to have it occupied a month, a year, right? That was a choice. Well, how can we make it being occupied most of the year more attractive than leaving it empty intentionally the majority of the year? That's all I'm asking. What does that look like? So this is a great opportunity to involve our community partners, HDA, our residents, because I can tell you this, in my district, I can tell you that people want to volunteer, right? They had to quit their jobs because it's too long a commute and they have small children. Kids are riding their bikes. People are concerned about that safety. And really kids don't have much to do or supervised in terms of what they can do, right? And so you do have that Tay youth too, that we need to engage our community in a very different way. This is one of many opportunities to do that. All I'm asking for is, can we see what other jurisdictions, can we engage in a conversation with our communities to see if they have any ideas? But at the end of the day, that's what government can do. We can set policy to say, can we make it more attractive to have somebody occupy it most of the year versus only once a year, maybe? Because right now it's more attractive to leave it intentionally vacant. That's the only ask.
Okay, one quick question.
Thank you. And I'm 100% with you. I just asked three things. Number one, that it doesn't cost the taxpaying citizens too much money. Remember, we're in a budget deficit. Number two, that it's not punitive, that it's not punitive. It's really incentivizing, because I think some business owners might be like, yeah, well, this is punitive to me because, you know, I blah, 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 whatever the circumstances. And number three, that we leverage the existing MOUs with the community stakeholders that we have in existence, and some that we don't. Talk to the chamber, even though we don't have an MOU with them, talk to them and see what they're willing to offer in those terms. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jim, you wanted to make a comment? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I always wonder why I'm sitting by the city attorney, but now I know why. You took a member tonight, Mr. Hernandez, for the Business Advisory Commission. if we all, as council members, let's fill that commission, and maybe they have some of the ideas or can do some of the homework that Councilmember Morales is suggesting, what could be done, what could work in our community. And so I think that's also a suggestion that could work.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what's being said. My worry is about creating any workload upon staff right now. So if there is a way to do this and come back with some information, in the way that Councilmember Morales summarized, that just looks at what are some of the options, and if we take the sentiment of incentivizing um, filling the vacant building rather than having it look like an incentive to not fill it. If there's ways to incentivize, not ways to be punitive, those obviously are the ones that seem to be more attractive. But is there a way to do that that does not involve staff time? And then bring it back to the council with some of that information at a later date. Yeah, Jim is shaking his head, and I'm looking at Jennifer as well.
I certainly can work with the city attorney, work with the member who provided this request,
Mhm.
and see what we can bring back. And maybe we take small bites at a larger problem and we bring back incremental type of
Yeah.
suggestions. So,
Yeah.
yes.
And I mean, I think the idea of reaching out to HDA is good too. However, we're looking at buildings and businesses throughout Hollister, not just simply in the downtown. However, if they can in any way provide any additional support or information, that would be great as well. So, okay, so is that it? Okay, so let me just check in with is everybody okay with that, with that direction to like explore what's out there, bring it back, not involve staff time, and then check in with HDA?
Mayor.
Wait, hold on a minute. Jennifer, you're looking at me bewildered.
Oh, I just don't know if you've called for public comment on this item.
Oh,
I don't think that you have.
did we? No, I'm sorry about that. Okay, let me take your comment, Councilmember Resendez, and then we'll go to public comment. I apologize. Thank you for.
I was just going to say, I really like what either the city manager or the city attorney suggested about like making this the first project for the business advisory commission, right? Because that will, I think, you're going to have input from them. I don't want to go on and
Yeah,
belabor it,
I mean, I think that's good too, and I also want to make sure that we get those filled, but I think we can do some legwork in advance of that. So, okay, so let's go to public comment, and then we'll come back and finalize this item.
Okay, and there are no public comments for this item.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think we're done. I think we're good with this. Any additional instructions? I think Jim and Jennifer seem to get the gist of what we're trying to get. Councilmember Pache, did you have one last comment?
Just one last thing. So, businesses have capital and they generally don't let it just sit vacant unless there's a reason. Kmart was the last occupant of that building and it's still going through bankruptcy, and there's still some outside of the country operations, and they're potentially merging with Sears. This is kind of a relic. The reason it's not a Halloween store is because it's likely that it's still being kind of paid for. But to Councilmember Morales's point, once these things have all gone through, it's possible that it becomes something else. And I totally agree with everybody. Great opportunity for the Business Advisory Commission to start thinking about it now. What could it possibly be? Because it could be, who knows, like a mall where a whole bunch of little stores go in. Look what they did with Munzer's. I thought that place was pretty big when it was just a cyclery and sports center where I bought my first bike. But look at how many businesses are there now. Imagine how cool Kmart could be if it turned into something like that, or maybe a bowling alley in addition. Who knows? But more to come on that.
Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Morales.
So I just want to make sure, because there's a lot of ideas. So what I heard was, we're to go ahead and move forward, do some research. When we have people appointed to the business council, we can check in with them too, but at the moment, I'll work with our interim city manager while we still have him on research and seeing what other people, what's the universe? And then bring that back. We can bring it back in chunks, or we can bring it back once we have comprehensive, but we're not going to use planning department staff time. And And so that will be our direction. Is that accurate?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
I'm
yes.
looking at you, Jen.
And
So the only thing you didn't say is a time element. And so I'm here for the next month and I'm committed to doing something to move it forward. I just don't know what date it will reappear for you. But yes.
okay, okay. Okay, and then I'm just gonna like get a nodding heads or thumbs up. But first, I just want to en- encourage my fellow council members to get your appointments. Find somebody to fill the Business Advisory Committee, commission. We really need those bodies in that commission. Okay. Say that again. Do we have to, or just provide direction? Okay, okay, so we got consensus, we're okay with that. Should we just go ahead with the motion?
Yeah, yes,
Okay,
please.
I'm gonna have, are you okay with doing your summarizing what you just said, Councilmember Morales, so that we can use that as the basis of the motion?
Sure. So I make a motion to move forward with doing research with the interim city manager and or designee for reviewing alternatives or options for commercial empty building locations within the city of Hollister to bring either in, I don't want to say chunks, in pieces, stages, thank you, to the city council, and then to check in with our commission, with our business commission, once they're up and running.
I second.
Okay, thank you. And so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so now we have a formal motion on that one. Okay, great. Okay, and then our final item on council business is 9.4, discussion of special events and banner permit fees. Can we get a staff report, please?
Yes, give me just a second to finish the last item. Okay, so hi all, Jen Woodworth, City Clerk. So I'm bringing this item forward to you today. A little bit of a background and then some possible discussion options for the City Council related to the city special event and permit permit fees, and also potential recouping of costs related to those events and banners. So the process for oh, and I hit the wrong button. I was going to do it at least. There we go. Okay, so Hollister Municipal Code 12.36 outlines the application and approval process for our special event permits. All event applications are reviewed by various department heads and require approval from the police chief. The banner applications are reviewed and approved by the city clerk, so we handle it for that one. The street closures that are outlined in that section of municipal code, they include for parades, block parties, farmers market, and then other various events that may occur on the city streets within the city. So sometimes it's a neighborhood, sometimes it's downtown, most often it's downtown. It also includes various requirements such as a 72-hour notice for no parking signs. A 7-day notice is required for any affected businesses and residents to let them know that the street closure is going to affect them. And then you can't quite see it, but it also does require a signature from a majority of the affected residents and businesses, so that no one gets surprised when they try to go outside their house on a Saturday morning and there's a parade going down the street. Typically, street closures are done using K-rails or other city vehicles or a mixture of both. Previously, the city used bike racks more often than K-rails, but in recent years and months, we've moved towards the K-rails for safety concerns, which are outlined in the staff report. Those K-rails are staged typically the day or 2 days prior to the event, depending on the number of K-rails needed. Also, we sometimes will use a street sweeper after an event. And then also just a note for all of you that many events do occur after hours. So we do incur overtime costs for our staff to be able to do all of that work. Currently, the city does have a $112 application fee. This has gone up from $100 in the last couple of years with the various adjustments to the fee schedule that you've made across the board for all of your different fees. But that is currently the only fee that is charged related to any of our special event permits. So just to give you an understanding, the municipal code does state that you can charge an application fee. It also says that the ordinance states that the city can recoup departmental costs for staff and resources. So what that means is we charge an application fee, that is for the review of the application, but we haven't been recouping any of the actual costs to the city to put on any of these different events related to staff and resources. So in working with all of our different departments that are included in this, and also with our finance department, we determined what the actual costs to the city were for various types of actions and activities that go on with these events. So these are the actual costs associated with street closures. So that application review and processing, while we only charge $112, the actual staff time that it takes for your various department heads and staff members to review it is actually $772.27. This is every single application that we get for all of our different events during the year. In order to place the K-rails for it, if you have a smaller event, you only need 8, 16 for some of the larger events. The rally actually required 45, just to kind of give you a perspective, but that was a much different layout that we were handling. Some of the different after hours downtown events, this is only from San Benito from South to 5th, and it can back up to Hayden. It's about 6,800. The parade loop, which includes going down San Benito from Nash all the way down to 5th, back up Monterey to Nash. You can see that this is actually a smaller dollar amount because these are related. This is the homecoming parade. This is really what this one's related to, which is done during hours. And so that's why it's a little bit less. Street closure during business hours, you can see, and then if it's after hours or on weekends. I'm unfortunately not done yet. There's also the Saddle Horse Parade has additional fees related to it. This is due to additional patrol that's needed during the Saddle Horse Parade and also additional cleanup due to the nature of the parade. And then the farmers market setup, just wanted to kind of let you know, we call this one out separately because it doesn't include additional K-rail setup and staging because those are set up and staged for the entirety of the summer or during that period from April to October, I believe it is. So it's actually a lower cost than what it would be for a typical downtown closure. So these represent the actual costs to the city with regards to these different events. And then as you saw in the staff report, it's not just, we do recoup some of the costs related to the application fees, but as you saw in there, we're out over $100,000 in our special events. So in addition to our special events, we also have the street banners. It's, as you've seen, they go across San Benito Street, only for nonprofits, 2 weeks, first come, first serve, and they're hung and removed by city staff. This one has a $169 application fee. Again, that is only to cover the review of the application, checking in on various nonprofit status and such as that. The actual cost to the city for hanging and removing the banner is about $313 for a total of $482.50. So with regards to the city's fiscal and budget policies and user fee cost recovery goals, so the city has already adopted these fiscal and budget policies that the cost recovery goals are based on the cost of delivering the service, including the direct costs of staff, the materials, also the administration. So those review of those applications, processing of checks, all of that is included. The maintenance of the vehicles, the forklifts that are required for the K-rails. However, in addition to wanting to have that cost recovery goals, we do acknowledge that there is additional benefit to the community versus a special service that may just be for an individual. And so when you have these activities that are of benefit to the entire community, the city council's policies on fiscal and budget does allow that you do a lower cost recovery instead of the full amount. So as such, I am bringing forward an option to, rather than do a full cost recovery, to consider 50% option. For most of our events, they are either nonprofit or partners with government agencies. And so to offer a 50% discount to those nonprofit partners and government agencies so that they can have that lower amount, because again, this is for community benefit and we want to be able to continue them. So I do have all of those different services discounted by 50%. The application review and processing stays the same because that's an internal process that doesn't really change no matter the type of event it is, be it for the community or if it's for an individual corporation that's putting on an event for themselves. So that, again, that's just 50% of each of those that you already saw. The banners are only for nonprofits. So rather than have two different fees, I would suggest going ahead and doing a single fee, which represents that 50% discount to the hanging and the removing of the banner, which comes to $325.75. So I wanted to give you an idea of some sample events. What this might look like. So homecoming parade, as I mentioned earlier, there's application fee. We only decided to look at 16 K rails rather than the full 45 that might be needed because we kind of wanted to ease some of these fees in. Also, when you're closing off the streets, if you're closing it off at only for San Benito versus Monterey, you're typically going to use similar number of K rails because you're just going to block it on the outside limits of it as opposed to just at San Benito. It would be a loop parade during business hours. The total cost to the city would be $59.80.91, but then that would be subsidized for the staff or the different, setup and removal costs down to $33.76. The Veterans Day Parade, again, another nonprofit organization. This one is a smaller parade, so you need half as many K rails. It would just be the street closure downtown. And so $519, again, total cost of the city would be $21.80, but we would subsidize that, making it a cost of $14.76. And then finally, these costs are when you have more street closures. However, you can also have events that are public events, but are not requiring any street closures. So this is one, the Food and Wine Stroll. It occurs in the sidewalks. There are no street closures involved. So this would be only that application fee. Just wanted to give you some different sample ideas of what this would look like as it would be applied to some of the events that we do have in the city. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Okay, thank you for that, Jennifer. So any questions or comments from council? Councilmember Resendez, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. So do you know what the estimated cost? I think you said 100,000 a year is.
It's more than that. I'm trying to find. I've got a lot of research. I'm trying to find the actual. I want to say it was 118.
Okay.
Somewhere along those lines for last fiscal year, and then it is looking to be a little bit higher this current fiscal year because costs go up is basically the reason for it.
Have we been budgeting for this?
No, I'll let city manager.
So, yeah, no is the answer. We are subsidizing many
Okay.
of these events to a great degree.
Okay, so it's not included in our annual budget,
Not in your fee increases now.
not the fee increases, but our
Oh.
budget, department budgets, like our.
There's a much smaller portion that's in special events, but it's really small.
Right, and so the way that it's budgeted for it is it's staff time by and large, and so this is staff time that could be using other things, working on other projects.
Sure.
Providing other services that may have had to be cut in recent because we didn't have the funding for it, things such as that. So staff time is budgeted because we have general fund dollars, but this is not specifically budgeted for.
Okay. Do you know, have you looked at what other cities do?
Yes, we have. So many of the other cities surrounding us and nearby, Seaside, Gilroy, Half Moon Bay, Morgan Hill, various other ones that we have looked at, they do often charge an application fee, but then they charge the full cost recovery for it. So you may have a $600 or $700 application fee for all of that review, but then they have a full cost recovery that they are recouping the cost that way.
Okay. This is hard for me because there's definitely a community benefit and there's definitely a benefit to the businesses too, right? But at the same time, we have to be fiscally responsible. So if we were to, for me, like if we were to increase, I think you said like $100 to like $3,000, that could like limit some of these events from not happening.
Yes.
That,
right.
to me,
Go
is
ahead. Sorry.
very concerning, number one, because I think that we do generate revenue, especially when there's that many people downtown, and we're not capturing that. We need to be better at capturing that. Let's be honest, right? So we have to look at capturing what that revenue looks like. I'm not opposed to increasing it, but I don't feel comfortable increasing it by that much, not even the 50%. If there was a way we can titrate up year after year, so it's not just like a major impact and a major blow to where this might just stop some people from having events altogether, I might be okay with that because I think we have to be responsible. But again, we're not really looking at the sales tax that's being generated through the downtown businesses. And it is our job to provide some of these services and some of these long-standing traditions for the community of Hollister. So it's not an easy one.
No, absolutely not. And my recommendation would be that we do phase it in and to
Yeah.
do it at around 10% of the fees per year until we get to that full cost. However, still keeping the 50% discount for government agency and nonprofit organizations. So
Okay.
we'll still continue subsidizing, but we'll be able to recoup some of those costs from those organizations. And again, for-profit organizations and businesses, they would be charged the full amount.
Which we really don't have for-profits.
That is correct. And that's why, it's really never going to get to that full
Yeah.
recovery, but we wanted to make sure we had both options.
So you're proposing, and I like what I'm hearing from you is that we increment, we titrate it up at 10% to the 50. So what would that look like for one of those examples? Do you have something like that, or
So-
generally speaking?
I have it, but I couldn't do it for
Sure.
all of the different
Sure.
options. So for example, for the $112 to get up to the $772
Sure.
that it costs, it would take roughly 9 years to get up to that, going at 10% a year.
That sounds fine to me, but then that sounds fine to me, honestly. And the other thing is, by the time we get there, costs are going to go up way more than that too. But I'm okay with moving up, but gradually, so that we're not, again, we're not targeting like nonprofits, and that we're not taking away the benefit that this has for the community and the businesses.
Absolutely. And then I would also say that the council can consider it's the 10% plus whatever increases we do across the board. So it might be 11% one year, it might be 10% one year, it might be 12% another, because we want to try to keep pace with it, because you don't want to continue to stay far behind because you're never quite keeping pace.
Okay. I'm willing to try it. I think it's the responsible thing to do. Thank you.
Okay, other questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilmember Morales.
Do we know from the last 5 years, which organizations are going to be impacted? So we know HDA, we know like the high school, we know the farmers, right, saddle. So we
Yes.
should have a comprehensive list. And then did we reach out to them?
Yes, I did. That's actually why HDA and Omar is here tonight, because I
Okay.
did reach out to him. They are a vast majority of it, having, which we talked about earlier tonight, between 5 and 7 events a year. Additionally, the city puts on many events, and which, depending on the year and depending on our funding, some have been able to go forward, some have not. Additional ones are more one-off. Sometimes it's a block party. We have the San Benito Foods that closes the street for their canning season. We have the Red Ribbon Run, various other ones that we do. Again, some of these are in partnership with nonprofits or in partnership with other government agencies. And so we could make that determination of how we split the cost with them as we partner with them as well. So HDA is definitely the one that is most affected by these potential changes.
So when we do our yearly budget, so the city gives HDA money to do a lot of these separations. So it's like a circle. So how much do we give them? 100,000, 150,000, 90,000? So, and some of that were for these fees, because previously we would waive the fees, and then, our previous city manager was like, in order for us to make sure that we're doing audit and adhering to accounting principles, we have to say, we're going to give you, I remember what we gave you, $10,000-$20,000 for the fees.
Up to 20.
Up to $20,000.
So I'm gonna just hold on. So instead of having a conversation with Omar, I'm gonna ask Omar to come to the podium. And if we want to ask, and I'm pointing him out specifically because obviously we are asking about his organization, HDA. So let's do this. Are you okay with that? Just standing there and then maybe answering some questions
Yeah.
as they come up? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. So then that way, and then that way the public can also hear that it's not just coming from the chamber. So, okay, so let's just do that. Thank you.
Okay, and I did just want to, I had too many spreadsheets in front of me. So For the last full fiscal year, we did subsidize 127,752. Currently this year, we're on par to subsidize around 186,000. Part of that is related to rally closure. Like we had different events. So the events kind of fluctuate from year to year.
Right.
And so that's what it is. So I just wanted to give you the numbers now that I have them in front of me. Sorry. Thank you for that.
But is that in addition to like HDA's contract?
That is in addition. Yes, that is
Okay.
just the city's costs related to the special event permit fees. That is separate from their MOU.
Because I think what I'm saying is, so like we're paying ourselves partly, right? So next year, this is not going to be a benefit to you. We're giving you, $70,000 for you to put these events. I'm sure it's costs a lot more, and we're giving you $20,000 for the permits. But if one permit is now going to be $5,000, then you're going to be limited in addition to being limited in terms of the staff. So I just want us to think about like the circle is if we're the ones that want events, we're funding organizations to hold these events, but not fully, right? And then we're paying ourselves we're paying somebody else to pay us the fees. It's a circle. And so the analysis where I think you have it, but it's not in your PowerPoint is here's who's impacted, here are the costs, here's the community benefits, here's the sales tax, right? Here's the sense of, so one of the most beautiful things, in my opinion, of our community is the fact that people come out for like, what was that? Parade, the winter parade.
Lights on.
Thank you. Lights on, thank you. That was huge, right? We can't measure that in money, but that was such a wonderful feeling and a sense of community and safety and brother, sisterhood, siblinghood. So I just really want us to think about the overall cost of both being fiscally responsible, making sure that we are adhering to our policies, and also what does this truly mean? Because next year, we don't want to say we had one event. But what does that cost to the community? And that is going to be the question at the end of the day. Is the policies that we put in place, what is going to be the underlying outcome, not just financially, but in terms of our community and the spirit of the city of Hollister?
Yeah. Thank you, Councilmember Morales. Other questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Thank you, Mayor Stevens. I agree with you. Again, that's why I said it's a hard choice, right? Back to what you said about SB Foods, SB San Benito Foods.
Yeah,
They're private, aren't they?
that is correct.
And they're not paying anything right now.
They would only pay the application fee, but they actually handle their own street closure. So the city doesn't incur additional costs
Got it.
beyond the application.
Okay. Here's the thing though, Councilmember Morales, like we're an official partner and we're entered into MOU with the HDA. They are specifically partnering with us and business to revitalize downtowns all over the country, right? If we wanted to, I mean, we could probably look at the numbers, but we could say this is going to apply to everybody except for HDA.
Right. And that was some of the conversation that I think would go into renegotiation of the MOU.
Yeah.
And that's because that's part of it is that $20,000 that's in the current MOU. That was a negotiation with HDA. So I would agree that's kind of a separate one. And we could, you as council could include that. And then we as the clerk's office would handle it knowing how they, that negotiation.
I think it's a fair middle ground. Like, I think we're going to put HDA, like my number one concern is like all the events they do, right? We could put them out of business. Hollister School District, they do one parade. They could pay. Saddle Horse Parade.
That's actually done by HDA.
That's us.
Oh, well, they could pay too. They're the vets. I mean, come on, like they're all worthwhile causes, right? Like they're all worthy causes. They all bring like so many traditions and memories and so much value to our community. Like I don't disagree with that. But HGA is our partner to revitalize downtown, to bring people to highlight businesses, and they've been a great partner to us. They've been a wonderful partner to us. Hasn't always been like that. It has not always been like that. Let me just tell you. So I think that there's a middle ground here, I guess is what I'm getting at, Councilmember Morales, is that we can enter into the MOU with them to stick with the old fee schedule, stick with the old MOU, right? We can adopt a resolution saying that we're going to move forward with everybody else at this 10%, especially the private industry. They should be paying and they're not, excluding our official partner HDA for blah, 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 right? That's something that I think we can move forward with.
So here's what I would like to see, because the thing that was missing for me in the report and in your staff report, Jennifer, is more of the specifics, because obviously we all kind of figured out HGA is a big piece, a big stakeholder in this, obviously. But I think my concern is like, what else, right? I didn't think about the high school, but good example. But I mean, what I honestly would like to see, even before I made a decision about the actual fee structure, I do like the idea of a gradual increase over time rather than a boom, one shot big increase. That's like not good practice at all. But I would like to see, like, in the last year, 2 years, whatever, who have been the groups or the individuals who have been impacted by this or who have paid this fee, so just so that we have a better sense. I think it's important that we don't later on have like buyer's remorse, like, oh, we approved this and then, oh, but we didn't know it was going to affect this or that. And so I would rather if put this off so that we can get a little bit more specific information, because I agree there's a lot of community benefit. Part of the role of the city is to do this, right? That's part of what, and I guess some tax people might argue that they're already paying taxes to the city and that's part of our job. So, I mean, I want us to be really careful about that and be fiscally responsible at the same time. But I think it would help me to get a little bit more specifics, including like what you just said, not exact numbers, because obviously you wouldn't have exact numbers, but just maybe a few examples of what that might look like if we did a gradual increase. That's, I think, what I think would be really beneficial. My preference would be to hold off on making a final decision about that until we had that, but that's my preference. So what do you think?
No,
Are
absolutely.
you,
So I do have a very large spreadsheet of what all of the events for the last, since July 1st, 24 to present day, what those would actually cost the city. I honestly didn't include it because I didn't feel like there was enough context of it without having this conversation, without having talked to a stakeholder, our main stakeholder in this prior to the meeting. So that's why I didn't include it, but it's something that I can send out to the full council. You're also not making the decision today. You're just giving me direction, so because
Okay.
it would require a resolution. Another option is to go ahead and whenever you're ready to adopt the fees, and it would come back as a resolution, but decide that they're not going to actually go into effect until July 1st with the rest of the fee schedule when it goes into effect. So you have different options that you could look at. And then also that gives us the opportunity to reach out to all of our different event organizers that I've got on my list here for the last year and a half or so, to let them know in advance, this is what your event would cost going forward. And again, we would do that 10% plus whatever the kind of, it's not cost of living, but whatever the gradual increase the city does, so that we could try to start catching up. Again, the city would continue to subsidize 50% of a vast majority of the events, because it is so important to the community to have these events. It's one of the things that's most enjoyed in Hollister and sets Hollister apart, is having these community events, having them in the downtown. And so we want to be able to support that as well. And then also working with our partners and stakeholders to see how can we work with them through the MOU, through whatever means we may want to do, so that we can continue to support that. I unfortunately won't have definite sales tax information, because as we saw with the rally, it's hard to very much pinpoint this event brought in this amount of dollars. So I can't give that data. I won't be able to gather that, but we can look and see at what it would look like for all of these different events, how that phased in would look, and I can provide that information that I've already gathered.
okay, and thank you for that. And I would appreciate getting the information is on this. I'm not sure what that spreadsheet looks like. I've seen spreadsheets and they're a little scary. So I would ask that if you could send a version that summarizes the individuals, the groups, organizations, maybe an indication if it's a nonprofit or whatever it is, and then have like a summary of like the number of requests or something like that. I mean, I would appreciate that more than just like an enormous spreadsheet with all the applicants. Those can sometimes be a little
It's just
daunting. Yeah.
I'm with you. It just
Okay.
says the actual name of the event and which fees would apply.
Okay,
But
and
yes,
then maybe
I'll boil it down more for as you
yeah,
mentioned.
yeah. And then maybe you could add that as a supplemental document in case anybody else wants to dig a little bit deeper. But I do know that you can get a little like cross-eyed just trying to make sense of some of these spreadsheets with a lot of detail. I think that would really help. And then that's what I would like to see before I even like give any further direction. That's my comfort level right now, but I want to check in with my fellow council members. Go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Thank you, Mayor. And City Clerk, I don't expect you to get the sales tax information, but we have to be able to capture it. So I know you guys were so kind to share your analytics with us as far as like cell phones and how many people were here for the rally and whatnot. But again, my caveat would be, because I know that they're our biggest partner, and again, we get unfunded mandates all the time, right? What I would suggest, what I would like to see moving forward is that when either with Jim or with the new city manager, we have to be able to get a study done or some type of system in place done to be able to see how much money we're bringing in with your events and with the biker rally. We have to do that. So we have to do this, right?
Right.
So if we can get the HDA to partner with us, and there are 3 staff that have been working with them for years. I mean, Terry's been there for like 30 years, I think, right? Like if we can get these partners, like these true community Hollister-born partners. Gordon Machado was the first person of the HDA.
founded it.
Now he's our city treasurer. He was the what? I'm sorry,
He was
founding
the
member.
founder of the HDA.
Right. So there's some real true partnership and history and investment there. And I know that you guys put on the most events for us. But if we can get you guys to officially partner in some capacity, Omar, with the city on finding ways to paint that picture, because we need to do it. We need to justify to the community, yeah, we are subsidizing fees. Yeah, we are having biker rallies, but this is why. This is what's coming in response to that, right? That would be so helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Any information that we can provide, would love to share that with you guys. I think in the past, I mentioned to Jim and to the previous city manager that we were providing, the numbers of other people that attend our events throughout the year. We had that data information, so we were able to provide that and tell people, hey, we had almost 10,000 people for Lights On. We had almost 6,000 people for the street festival. So that's how many people come out every year to check out our events and how many people stay post and pre, to all the downtown businesses, especially for these
We're
events.
gonna need more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to need to see if we can go out there and if we can partner. We'll have to pay for it, obviously, right? With some type of a contractor or some type of an agency that exists out there that can show the dollars, the dollars that are being generated from the people that you guys are helping to bring down here.
Absolutely.
If I can, Mayor?
Go ahead.
A couple things. I do think we should hear just your opining on this generally, which we haven't heard tonight. It would be helpful. And I have talked to him, and we're going to meet next week, I think, maybe, because the analytics have temporarily gone away from what you've done, and we need to engage that because it's a service that's very expensive, and we can talk about how we reinvigorate that analytics.
Correct. So we had a contract with Placer AI, and so it expired in November. So we don't have that analytics going forward, but we are working right now and trying to bring that back and have that going again. So we have that. We're talking to some various stakeholders. The city of San Juan Bautista has offered to put some money towards that as well. We were talking to the city and seeing how we can partner with that and see how we can look at that as well. The cost for the program for the Downtown Association is $12,000. If the municipalities, like say the city of Hollister or the county wanted it, it'd be closer to $30,000. So we got a steep discount because we're smaller. We had a smaller footprint, but we get full data to all the events that we do, or just not here, pretty much throughout the United States. And so this previous year when we had the rally, we were able to provide the information to both the chief of police and the chief of fire, how many people attended the last time we had a rally, how many people attended this year when we had the rally, and what were some of the hotspots that we were looking at. So they can then provide coverage going forward as for safety issues and things of that nature. So we were looking at it more as in terms of safety than we were anything else. Just trying to determine where were the hotbeds of people hanging out so that they can plan accordingly for next year. So we are looking to bring back Placer. Again, that's a conversation that we were going to have with interim city manager and see where we were with that. But I think that's information is extremely
Yeah, it's going to be key, Omar, because obviously you hear from all of us, the general sense is that, ugh,
Yeah.
we don't want to have to, we don't want, but we also know that there is a being fiscally responsible
Absolutely.
side of this.
Yeah.
And numbers like that are crucial for the public to hear. So then they understand in, like with real data,
Right.
the justification for why the city should give HDA this break, because this is what it brings to our city. And if we don't have that kind of information, then it's really hard for the public to fully understand the reasons why we would not, why we wouldn't want to increase the fees or increase them to the degree that maybe we would with other groups. But it's just a really important piece.
Absolutely.
And
Okay,
can I
so-
just say, Mayor,
Mhm.
if you want to know where everybody was hanging out, they're hanging out with her, the mayor. You don't need technology to tell you that.
Okay.
That's your hotspot right there. Everybody was with her at Johnny's.
Okay. Let me check in with the rest of the council. Any questions or comments, Council Member Pache?
Yeah, well, I totally think that that Pacer AI, that data is super important. I totally cannot remember, but we were talking with the previous city manager, Dave Marion, and he said something about we were going to have more information about how the money cycled through and it stayed in the community for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
That Super Bowl example, it sounded pretty swell.
Yeah,
And I really was bought into that. So I don't know where that went exactly. I mean, I can reach
That's
out
a separate issue.
Okay.
We've talked to Jim about it, and there was some question about yeah. But yeah, that's a separate issue for a complete, the feasibility study, but it's something, it's a
Numbers.
right, but
But-
there's also the feasibility study, that two separate things, yeah.
Mayor, if
But
I can,
the-
I am talking about feasibility and sales tax if we're going to amend the contract with them.
Right, but I mean, what he's talking about is the feasibility study that we're talking about related to the rally. So that's like a different thing. That's a separate thing. But I mean, the two things are very important pieces of data that we need to share with the public, because we have to better like inform the public about the benefit of having a lot of these events, like including, for example, farmers market, right?
Yeah.
That's a big weekly event that we have almost, like throughout, like almost the whole year, right? It's a very long period of time during the year that we have that weekly event, and, it's an important event. But let me check on this side. Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Morales, go ahead.
No, I just want to make sure we stay on topic,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
going off. Okay. Thank you, Omar. And then let me check in. Do we have any speakers for this item?
We do not have any speakers for this item.
Okay, so no speakers. Okay, so then so I'm going to just stick with what I said earlier, that I would like a little bit more specific information coming back to us before I even give any further direction or make any other further decisions on this. And I wanted to check with my fellow council members to see what they thought about that. Okay, so okay. So Jennifer, do you
Right, just
Okay.
to recap, so what I'll do is I'll bring back and send out the information related to the actual events and what those individual events, again, that we've had in the last year and a half cost to the city, and then the money that we brought in, so those subsidized costs for it. Additionally, what I'll do is I'll kind of use my spreadsheet and map out a little bit how long it would take to get to the cost, but what they would look like over time that increases. And then we can bring that back. What the action that will be needed in the future, in the coming meetings, to actually adopt those changes to the fee schedule, because right now we only have those two fees, the two application fees. So we would need to add these additional rows to the fee schedule to break it down so that we're actually only charging costs related to those individual events. It's not a one size fits all, and we don't want it to be, because you shouldn't be paying the same for a small street closure as you do for a full parade. And so we'll bring those back after I get that additional direction. But what I'll provide is that 10% increase per year, and then what that looks like to the events that we've had for the last year and a half. And then we'll plan to bring this back in the not too distant future for you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay.
Mayor,
Okay, last comment.
are we going to be able to separate HDA's events out from the other ones, given the information that you're going to provide to us?
That is, so I already have it kind of on mine broken out, but that's part of the MOU negotiations and conversation. This is setting the fees for the fee schedule. If you want to include that in those upcoming negotiations, that is something that council is more than welcome to do and to give direction to the city manager during the negotiations.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's just going to be information that we're going to get, and then later we're going to make decisions about what to do with that information, right? It's not, that's just what it would be. Okay. All right. I think we got it then. Okay. All right. Thank you, Jen. Thank you. Thank you, Omar. We appreciate it. Okay. So let's move on. Next item, informational reports, committee assignments. So any council members have anything to report on this section? I'm not sure if there were any meetings that happened since the last time that we met. So let me just check this side of the day. Oh, go ahead, Councilmember Morales.
Yes, I will need to have the Council of Aging reassigned, please, for
Okay, so
consideration.
we had a
Yeah.
discussion before the meeting. Yeah, okay. So
Thank
we're
you.
gonna have to figure that one out. I mean, again, the issue that Councilmember Morales raises is that the time and dates of these meetings conflict with work schedules, and everybody here works generally full-time. I'm the only one that has a more flexible schedule. Everyone else has a pretty solid, Monday through Friday, sort of 8 to 5 kind of a job, and it's very tough to do the daytime meeting. So again, we'll be figuring that out. So that's kind of the issue. Okay, anything to report? I don't have anything to report. I haven't been to a committee meeting since our last meeting, and this side of the dais, anything to report? Committee assignments?
Councilmember Morales and I were working on a weed abatement program with the Union Pacific Railway, and we discovered that they're almost like an autonomous, like their own government, their own like entity. And once those weeds detach, I don't know if anybody's seen the tumbleweeds, but they're kind of a huge problem. They literally are massive. They're like bigger than me. We abated them that last year, interim city manager, thanks for all the hard work. And we got our city staff working on that. And we abated them this time, but we're going to look for a longer term solution as far as like just eradicating the seeds that they leave behind, because it's literally every year. So there were no meetings for December to report out on, but that's just a sidebar project. You haven't seen the tumbleweeds all across. You've seen them. They were on California 25. I mean, they're an eyesore, first of all, and they make us look kind of podunky, and I really don't like that at all. It vexes me greatly. But they're actually a nuisance beyond just vexing Councilmember Pache and Councilmember Morales. They literally could cause a traffic incident. So we cleaned them up for now, thanks to the city staff and public works and city manager, but we'll work on that moving forward to see how we can just abate them. We're good.
Okay, thank you for that report. Anything else? Councilmember Morales, Resendez, anything else? No, okay. Okay, so let me turn it over to Jim, city manager report. Anything to update?
Thank you, Mayor, and I just want to thank you all for having a near 1st of January meeting. It was a very busy meeting. It was a necessary meeting. It wasn't on the calendar 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I have nothing to report outside of this because everything I reported with you is transparent in this meeting, et cetera. And so I think it's a good start to the new year. That's all I have.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Okay, so I'm gonna move to adjourn. Go ahead.
Sorry for the interruption. There is one item that was a council member request from Councilmember Morales.
Oh, sorry about that. I skipped right over that. I apologize for that. Yes, go ahead, Councilmember Morales.
Yes, this is a request, made the request last meeting, so this time I've submitted my form, requesting to change the council meeting, keep them Mondays, but instead of every first and third, make them to second and fourth, same time. That is my request.
Okay, any questions or discussion about the item? Go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Are we having the discussion now, or are we just agreeing to have
We're-
the discussion later?
Right, it's just for the
Okay.
agenda, it's to put it on the
Okay,
agenda.
yeah, I'm fine. with
Okay,
that.
okay, so it is okay to get, are you okay with this on the agenda? You okay? I'm okay. Okay, so future agenda, we will discuss this. Okay, so now we will be moving to adjourn, and I did get a request to adjourn in the honor of a former city manager Roger Grimsley, who passed away over the Christmas holiday. And so we just want to adjourn in his honor and thank him for his service to the city. Okay, so we're adjourning.